You've got mail.
Techmate.
Welcome back, everyone, to the second episode of the Techmate podcast. I'm Ken O'Connor.
I'm Brian.
Yes, Brian, my mate, talking about tech stuff. But
I gave like a decent, I didn't say anything dumb. I just said my name that time.
I know, this is big.
I know.
Well, we haven't recorded for a while, so I guess you've matured since the last time we've podcasted, or you've gotten more comfortable talking.
Nope.
And it's ruined. Yes, it's the Techmate podcast. Me and Brian are back after a little, not hiatus, just when we have free time to record, because we're both working adults. He works a lot harder than I do.
I don't know about that.
I think you do.
No. I think I work more dumb hours, because you get the weekends off and I don't.
That is true.
So we never have a day where, you have off and I have off.
I know.
So we're always flex.
It's kind of sucky.
Whatever, it's fine. Welcome back to the podcast.
Yes, we have 3 topics today we're going to talk about. We're kind of gelling into this format where every episode, 3 topics, 20 minutes. It's kind of working well.
Sure. I mean, it worked well the first time. I think this is the second official podcast.
It feels like so much longer because we talk so much about stuff in between that I forget. Did we talk about it in the podcast, or was that just 2 a.m. Hey, this is up on GameStop or something like that?
Yikes. Wow,
that
calling me out.
Oh, I'm just saying that happens a lot with us. Whenever stuff goes online. Today, you showed me that translucent PS4 Pro.
Can I tell you about, before we jump into this? We're gonna break this up. The first 20 minutes is gonna be Smash Nudes.
Yes, Smash Nudes.
Whoops! That is a Freudian slip, as they call that. So I woke up this morning to the news of this translucent blue PlayStation 4 Pro. And it is gorgeous. It is probably I'm a big fan of the color blue. Of course. Everything that I own is blue. And it's like homage. Sure. Homage that one to the 90s. And all the translucent consoles. We never had a translucent PlayStation console in the United States.
Did we not?
No. We might have gotten maybe a ruby red one at some point.
We definitely had a ruby red one.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the PlayStation here, the colors were more like those solid, kind of matted plastics and whatnot. Yeah. But
so we didn't have anything like translucent. I know they got it in Japan and they had them in Europe, but we never in the United States had them. And it marks the 500 millionth PlayStation console sold. Wow. Not PlayStation 4, just overall PlayStation. They've shipped 500 million consoles since their PlayStation.
That's a huge number.
It's gigantic. And so what are they going to do? They're going to make more. We're going to buy more.
I want to know how that compares to Nintendo, because Nintendo, in terms of when the DS first came out, I think the average Japanese household had 5 or 6 DSs in a family of 2 or 3, because they kept buying more and more of them. Right. We count every Nintendo console ever made. How many have they sold? It has to be more than Sony at this point.
Totally. But Sony, they did this. I think it was a couple years ago. They did this for the launch PS4. Mm-hmm. A couple months after, they were like, "Oh, it's the 20th anniversary of PlayStation," and they made a light gray. You remember the rainbow color, not rainbow color, but multicolored PlayStation logo. They put that on a console. And they said, I think they made 20,000 of them.
Yeah, that was released during their expo event, and it was oh, it's out now. If you did not pre-order it then, that was
the site crashed.
Yep.
And it was $500, and it was just chaos. So I'm predicting the same exact thing's going to happen here. I think they're selling them at other retailers besides the PlayStation store website, but it's going to be hell and back to try and get one.
It never makes sense when one company tries to hold everything through their store. We were just talking off Mike a little bit ago about the Pop figures. There was a Funko Pop through the Funimation's website Funimation doesn't get that much like
traffic
nowadays. Like it's like, okay, I'll buy my occasional anime once every 2 years from it or something like that. But like that's it. They had a Funko Pop during San Diego Comic-Con, crashed the site for a couple of days, so much so where they just canceled all the orders. Like we can't sell it. Yeah. We're sorry. Like
wow. So,
if that happens with the PlayStation, then
it's gonna. I know it is. But you know what? I have a good feeling about this one. I didn't get the last one, and this translucent blue is like my jam.
What was the last one you wanted? The anniversary one?
Yeah, the 20th anniversary one. So
I'm still holding out for that Kingdom Hearts one. They announced it at E3, and then haven't said a single thing since then.
It's gonna be like November. They're gonna announce like, oh, it's pre-ordered in November.
The pre-order in November, yeah. I'm like, it's not coming out 3 months before the game does.
No, God no. But it's gonna actually. You know what? No, it includes the game. So no, yeah. Sometimes they do that. You know, like they do. They'll announce like the console before. They did it with Pokemon X and Y. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. I have it. It's right over there.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
So. Oh well.
Yeah. So let's transition from the video game talk into a more focused video game talk.
Oh God.
Yesterday, Nintendo. Was it yesterday?
Yeah, 8. Yeah.
Wow, it feels like a couple.
Feels like years ago.
I know. Nintendo had a big Smash Direct, announcing 5 new characters. Technically.
Sure. Yeah, 5 new characters.
Yeah. What are your thoughts? I've been talking about this with everybody, so I want to hear what you think first.
So it was leaked like like 3 a.m. in the morning.
The Castlevania leak.
The Castlevania leak. For I guess Simon, and I was like confused as to what the leak was because I was scrolling through Twitter like, oh, this leaked. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm looking for. And there was no like information about what leaked. They just said Castlevania, and I was like, okay, cool. Like I know nothing about Castlevania besides just like I played it years ago, and that's the end of it. I was never really that into Castlevania, but they announced it, and apparently it's a big thing, which is I guess cool. Like if you have these beloved characters from an old Nintendo franchise, was Konami.
Yep. Castlevania is like one of the Nintendo. Like if you go back to the NES where they pulled most of their characters from, Simon Belmont from Castlevania is like the character. Those games are huge. The second one, Simon's Quest, is held up as one of like the worst video games of all time. But like 1, 3, Super Castlevania, which was 4 on the SNES. Symphony of the Night, which was the first PlayStation one, like all of these games, like Castlevania has had a huge part of Nintendo's history. So I expected, I called Simon a while back. So like when that leak happened, and basically what happened was Nintendo uploaded a video of unlisted music, and the music was like Castlevania music. So everyone's like, oh, we're getting our Castlevania character, and lo and behold, the direct starts off with this amazing cinematic of Luigi's mansion.
He dead.
He dead.
He gone.
Rip Luigi. I've seen so many great things like Luigi's death stare. Well, he actually stared death in the face, and now he's paying for it.
Nintendo UK tweeted out that he was fine, though.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's fine.
More than anything, like, yes, Simon's exciting, but I want a new Luigi's Mansion game, and I feel like that trailer was more than just a Smash Bros. Trailer.
Right.
Because Luigi was shooting a plunger out of his thing. He was doing things in that trailer we haven't seen in Luigi's Mansion before.
Right.
So if they're like, hey, this is Simon Belmont, but look at this.
We can have a Luigi's Mansion cross Castlevania.
Luigi's Castle. Honestly, I would play that. That looks so good. Again, like it was an HD pre-rendered trailer, blah, blah. It wouldn't look like that. But just the concept, like Dark Moon was fine on 3DS, and they're remaking the original now for 3DS too. But like, I want a new Luigi's Mansion on Switch, and that looked amazing.
I'll take it.
But back to Simon Belmont. What'd you think of him?
So I'm not really big into the mechanics of
fighting games.
Yeah, so I don't know anything about like he has an uppercut, which looks dope. He has his chain that.
Yep. Well,
I don't know really how it controls freely. I'm not sure how that works.
Yeah.
But
I'm betting anything that once you hold down a smash attack, it's like whipping in any direction, because some of the characters have like the beams, or Link has the hook shot, and like there's some after you, like even like Sheik with the little whip thing she has too, so you can definitely move them after that. All of his attacks are ripped straight from the first couple games. His model is a 3D new model, but like you lined up with the sprite, his
like perfect
stance is perfect.
I did notice that.
His art is taken from the first game box too, not the second one, which was crappy. Like, so everything about him is just perfect. And like that alone, I was expecting one character. I'm like, okay, Castlevania character, it's good. Then freaking Richter Belmont as an Echo Fighter. Richter being from Rondo of Blood and a couple of the other Castlevania games. And I think the beginning of Symphony of the Night, too. That blew my mind. Like, okay, 2 characters now. This is phenomenal. He looked great, too. Right. And with the Echo Fighters, yes, they're clones. But to me, they've done such a good job making them still unique. Yeah. Like, again, minimal changes here and there. But, like, it's not just throwing a skin on him kind of thing.
I think what we'll really notice is, like, you know when you had a customizable attack in Smash 4?
Yeah.
Where you could, like, change, like, side B or whatever. I feel like Echo Fighters are just going to be like preset, like a different attack, because you saw Crom, he has ether attack.
Yeah, but it's like diagonalish.
Right. Kind of. So we don't know if he's like based off Ike or if he's based off Roy.
He's based off Roy.
But he has So it's like all these Echo Fighters have different, you know, maybe they bring the best of, because if in a fighting game you don't have you know, if you're not allowed customizable characters in a, you know, in a tournament like setting, you now have the option of like, hey, you want this attack plus this attack, you're going to choose Crom over Ike because Ike doesn't have this and Crom does.
The Mii fighters have kind of confirmed that the custom moves from 4 are going away.
Yeah.
But the Echo fighters, like you said, having the best customizable, like just like different moves that tweaked a little bit.
Right.
It's your customizable setup, and I think it's a great idea.
Yeah. Giving more control back to like the less RNG. Yeah. And now, like, preset. Move to Echo Fighters, even having, like, Crom, Dark Samus, like, these are all characters that, like, identifiable, which is also funny because we're seeing a lot of, like, villains come into, and even in towards the end of the
Direct.
You had King K. Rool, which is, like, anyone made this joke 5 years ago, like it'll never happen, and here it is. Which I guess that entire poll from how many years ago probably had like a huge effect in terms of how this game is going.
Yeah.
So hold that for Goku. So when we saw like the Donkey Kong trailer, it was like the hero versus the villain over and over again, and you saw DK and you have King K. Rool. I think a large aspect of this game is going to be like heroes versus villains, whether it be like a subspace replacement or like a story mode, or you know, whatever it's going to be cool because you have bosses again. And I loved subspace, like fighting Rayquaza and like all these other cool bosses from other franchises.
Yeah, I think like, so this direct in general, we're not gonna cover all of it because there was so much to cover, like stuff like 900 tracks of music.
Do you want to use your $300 Switch tablet as an iPod?
No, I'll just use my iPhone.
Okay, cool. Next.
Over 100 stages.
300 if you count all the hazards off plus Omega stages.
And that's only the 103 they've announced so far, too, because like they showed off that you hinted at that Monster Hunter stage. That wasn't on the listed stages there of the 103 they showed. So it's like, okay, is that a stage? Is that a story mode? What is that? Is that only for like, is it like back in the N64 there was that Metal Mario stage that only showed up for Metal Mario. You can't play on that stage. Like, is that one of those things? Like, we don't know. So this game is already overflowing with stuff. But I think it opens up to so much speculation now. So again, that Monster Hunter stage, they said this is a boss and an assist trophy. The first ever to be a boss and assist trophy. What's he a boss for? Is he a boss in an adventure mode, in a classic mode?
Yeah.
Are you doing a subspace emissary? Like, you mentioned boss, so that makes me think there's other bosses in the game as well. Looking back at subspace emissary, Ridley was a boss, Meta Ridley and normal Ridley. Pokey was a boss, Rayquaza was a boss, Petey Piranha was a boss. Are these coming back as returning bosses? For what? Like,
right. So we don't know.
Yeah.
And that's why I assume that little green blurred area of the home screen.
They've already figured out that says spirits on it.
Spirits?
Yeah, because someone like, you zoomed in close enough on the blur, like at one point it looked like spirits, and then someone like, hey, what's the Japanese trailer show? And it's blurred out too, but it's the kanji for spirits. So I'm like, sure. It can't be a coincidence that both these things look like spirits. Again, it could be a placeholder name too to fuck with us, but and then Luigi was a ghost in the trailer as a spirit, so people are running with that. I'm not holding much like.
Right. I'm like blurred out text. I'm not going to like...
Yeah. And there was a bunch of things blurred. If you go back and look at that trailer, there's a bunch of little blurred... Yeah. They blurred a couple things out here and there. But yeah, and just in terms of more characters now. So Crom was a final smash in the last game.
Right.
King K. Rool was a Mii costume in the last game.
Right.
The Splatoon Inklings were costumes in the last game.
Right.
What else? Dark Samus was an assist trophy in the last game. So all these characters who were previously like not in.
Right. Have we seen? Here's the thing: we saw Knuckles, and everyone keeps on saying, "Oh, Shadow's gonna be."
I think Shadow will be a Echo for Sonic.
You know what's funny is like you look at like that art piece that they keep on adding characters to. I'm looking for holes. I'm like, I wonder who could go there.
The holes have always been filled. They keep updating the image and then filling the holes. Because I went back and looked at like the last one, and none of those holes were there. Yeah, they keep moving the artwork around.
So we're at 73 characters.
73, yeah.
Without a doubt in my mind, I feel like this is going to be the last Smash game.
I think they're gonna use this as the platform to build off of, and that if they ever need to like make a new one, they have to have a reason for it. Because again, we're not going into all this stuff, but like chargeable final smashes, the stages morphing in and out from each other, a stamina mode, a way of picking 5 characters, and like each character is your stock, and then it's like a squad strike thing. Everything we could have hoped for is in this game. Like I can't think of a single thing. Like the only thing I'm holding out for now is Geno in Smash. It's the only character I want. He was a Mii costume in the last game.
Right.
So that's like my one saving grace. Like, hey, they know it. Like, and they're with Square. Like, Cloud's still in the game, too. They have a good relationship with Square. I think Geno has to happen. I think we're going to end off at a nice, clean 80 characters.
Yeah. Wow. 80 characters. That's insane. That's a lot of amiibo.
Yeah. We were already talking about how many more amiibos are going to be.
You know what? I honestly, like, if... What's funny is, like, they already have, like, a Crom amiibo.
Yep.
They already have,
Shovel Knight amiibo, even though he's a assist trophy.
He's assist trophy. They already have, Daisy amiibo.
Yep.
So it's like, they're gonna re-release all these characters. It's gonna be, wherever your Daisy is.
Yeah.
Behind you, maybe.
I think so.
Somewhere around here. Visualize, every comic and video game nerdy dream. That's Kenny's room. Just everywhere.
I brought some friends over the first time the other day, and they just like stood in the middle of the room and just kind of like turned in like slow motion in awe.
Yeah, it's pretty packed in here.
Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to rearrange the amiibo too, because I had them buy their Smash 4 character layout.
Right.
I think I'm gonna move them into the order that Ultimate has them, where it's their chronological order.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna need another display case too.
Yep. Oh yeah.
I'm already I'm psyched for King K. Rool amiibo.
Dude, he looks so good.
Yeah.
He looks so fucking good.
Yeah. It's so amazing to me that like first of all, again, I say I don't know anything about like the technicality of this fighting game, but he's a heavy. He has a projectile. What else do you want?
He has a good recovery too. He has his jetpack from the 3rd game. He has his blunderbuss from the 2nd game. He has his punching bags from the N64 game.
Yeah.
He has a reflect too. His belly reflects shit.
Yeah. So I mean, I think I found a new main, but also at the same time, like I was big into Bowser. Like I'm really good with Bowser. I'm really good with oh no, I'm not really good with Ike. I lied. Liam's really good.
I think this game is gonna make me play a lot more characters too than I previously did.
Oh yeah. You're gonna have to. Yeah. It's like one of those things where you're gonna have like they even have that new mode where you like everyone picks a character and then the next round nobody can use that character. I mean, fair, you have Echo Fighters to kind of like
which I think that's why the 80 makes sense to me. Because if you had a 4-player Smash, then everyone gets 20 characters. If you have an 8-player Smash, everyone gets 10.
Right.
I think that's a good even amount.
That makes sense.
But yeah, let's wrap it. We're going a little bit long on this part, but
we're right on time, Kenny. Don't you worry.
What I said in the beginning about like I think they're hinting at a new Luigi's Mansion development. I think we haven't not had the 3rd Donkey Kong Country Returns game yet.
Yeah.
And the first game was the Tiki Mask. The 2nd game was like the Ice Nomads. I think that because they're putting emphasis on King K. Rool, they're bringing back the Kremlings for the 3rd and final game.
Or they're doing Donkey Kong Switch, and it's going to be a remake of Donkey Kong 64.
Honestly, wouldn't mind that either.
I'm kidding. Don't get angry. It's not going to happen.
Oh yeah, well that's rare, so they really can't remake that. But like, I think that since they have K. Rool, like K. Rool's always been theirs, it's been like kind of like tied with Rare and Microsoft a little bit. Like he's here now, they can use him, and that means he might be in the next Donkey Kong Country game. If they're okay with him being in, maybe the camaraderie with Microsoft. Banjo-Kazooie's probably going to be in. Like, Banjo-Kazooie, to me, is almost like a definite at this point.
Really?
With all the stuff that Nintendo's been doing with Sony and Microsoft Online, like, have you seen, like, the ads?
Yeah.
Because Microsoft's like, hey, Nintendo, want to play Minecraft? Sure, we're going to play. They're being chummy with one another.
Yeah.
Have
that's a good
Banjo-Kazooie in
point.
there.
I think, what's funny is I think that Smash, for the game that it is, does a lot more in terms of relationships, whether it be friends and companies, than anyone else.
It brings a lot of people together. It's a great advertising tool too. Like that's like back in Melee when you had all those Fire Emblem characters.
Right.
No one heard of Fire Emblem back then, and then that game made everyone like, look at it, it's giant now.
Six Fire Emblem characters in Smash now?
Are we counting the male and female versions of Robin? And
sure.
There's more than that then.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Anyway,
let's move on to our next topic.
We're gonna go on to the next topic. Apple is a $1 trillion company now.
I can't even fathom like what that means.
What's funny is I was trying to like figure out how they got there, and it's going back through their history. They are just so against the grain.
Yeah.
And you think whenever they release a new product, it's always, it's the same thing as last year, but this is different. They invented the minimal every other year upgrade. They invented the S upgrades. They invented, minimal changes that had a big impact for the future. Samsung does that now. You look at like all these other companies that don't do what Apple does, and you can tell the difference between why Apple got there first before anyone else.
I kind of like to go back to video games for a minute. I kind of compare it to Nintendo, where Nintendo has started all these major things, and then every company builds off of it. So much so we're now indie developers are building games based off the Nintendo games of old,
right?
Kind of thing. Where Nintendo started these things, they planted the seeds, and now Apple. Like I have my frustrations with Apple. I've expressed them.
Everyone does.
We all have these frustrations, but we can't deny they started it all. It's like kind of yelling at Grandpa, like, Grandpa, why are you falling asleep? Like, I created your parents and they created you, so you can't be mad at me, kind of thing.
Yeah.
$1 trillion.
$1 trillion. That's a lot of iPhones.
And that's
what is that, like 3 iPhone 10s? It's the price.
So now that's their stock now, right? Their overall stock. How is the trillion broken? Like, how is it like being expressed? Because they own more than $1 trillion.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's the market value, basically.
It's the market value.
We'll go into Apple's stock app here. What's funny is on the day that they hit $1 trillion, it was it was basically their stock app switched over to 1 trillion, and then it was like 1 trillion.001, and that's how we knew it was at trillion, because everything has to line up. In the stock apps perfectly at 4 digits. So now it's 1 point and everyone else is like 938.1, or so they're rounding up. But it's their market cap. Don't ask me too much about stocks, but it's basically that they're the first American company to do this. There was a company, I believe, in Japan that did it for a little while.
I think it was China.
China
that was there, went down, went back up.
Yeah.
It's been a little bit versatile with them, I think. But
so, here they are, and it's funny because we're not. Again, I don't do stocks. I have what I have, and then I just let it sit. But it's one of those things where it makes news because it's Apple, and it was also versus Amazon for a while. It was a kind of a race between who would get there first, and it was Apple. And I think we go back and look at the reasons why, and you can list 1,000. They are smart business people. They have good values, but it's also one of those things where it's like their belief system is so deeply rooted in like the end user. you know, whether it be like your 80-year-old grandmother wants to use an iPad so she can FaceTime her kids, also versus like the young entrepreneur that wants to set up a startup, all the way to the point where it's like, I'm sure there's a large company that uses Apple as their, you know,
primary. Like, yeah.
Meanwhile, you go into like local retail stores or like local food places, and they have like those square setups with the iPads, and you swipe your credit card through them. It's like Apple reaches every branch of our existence that we don't actually think about. And here we are. I mean, everyone and their mother and their mother's mother probably has some sort of Apple device or used an Apple device at some point.
Yeah, I've never owned Apple device myself, but
yeah, really? Huh, interesting. Wait, I didn't own any Apple products until the iPad 2 back in 2011. That was like I had iPods. I lied. So maybe
my first Apple product was the original iPhone. Mm-hmm. No. You just said iPods.
Yeah.
So I owned the Shuffle.
Yeah.
And then I owned the Nano.
The one that you wore around your neck?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. The one that was like a piece of gum. Yep.
Yeah.
I owned that one. I owned the Nano, like the original like, small Nano.
Right.
And then the first iPhone.
Right.
Which I got, I think, maybe a month after it first came out because you couldn't get anywhere.
Of course.
I switched to AT&T. I was on Sprint originally. I switched to AT&T because that was the only service you could get it on.
Right.
And I remember watching on Apple's website, like a little kid, like just watching the presentation over and over again, going through like, the tutorials, like, oh, Johnny Appleseed adding a contact, and like they changed so much with that first like smartphone.
Yeah.
Like it was magic to me.
So we think about like Apple being the iPhone company, and it's they saw a whole lot of iPhones, but it's also the smart marketing that they used to do. I watched a lot of old Steve Jobs keynotes recently, trying to understand how Apple would market these things, and Steve was a presenter. He had this formulaic quality for when he got up on stage, where even from his first keynote for the Macintosh, he got up there and he's saying, will IBM, will 1984 really be 1984?
Yeah, it was based off George Orwell's book, and he said
it's like every company's doing the same exact thing, and then he brings this beige looking box up on stage, and it says, "Hello, I'm Macintosh," and it's the point of Apple's takeoff, downfall, and then takeoff again, where Steve put every ounce of his being into, this is what other people are doing. This is why it won't work. Let me show you what I've got. And he did that every single keynote. Even on the iPhone keynote, all these phones, they had the iTunes phone with Motorola. Do you remember that one as well? So for those who don't know, there was a partnership between Apple and Motorola where they put iTunes sync capability into a Motorola phone.
Had the keypad on it.
Yeah, it was garbage. But it was like the takeoff of like, oh, I can have music on my phone. And then the iPhone came out, and they were like, well, all these phones do everything, but they don't do it well. They can browse the web, but it's tiny, and you have to use a stylus. His famous quote, who wants to use a stylus? Yuck. And to that, the audience was like, yeah, general consensus. He understood what people liked and what they didn't, and then he reinvented it. Granted, he had a lot of issues in his life, but it for what he did to revolutionize where we are today in the tech landscape, it's like Apple's made this dominant choice to be what other companies won't.
I think more than anything, the products speak for themselves, but Steve Jobs, he sold dreams.
Right.
When he presented a product, it wasn't like, check out how much RAM this has, how much this has. It's what you could do with the product in the unshackling of human nature. Like, hey, if you're a dreamer, this tool will help your dreams come reality. You can expand upon this. And I think since his passing, we've seen Apple take less risks with stuff like that. Like, I can't think of anything super innovative from them in the last couple of years, or since his passing, really. But people who take the Apple technology are what makes Apple what it is today. They're people who take the programs, the iPhones, and make amazing stuff with it. Like, they always show whenever they have like a new camera in an iPhone, they always do like those showcases where they show like photo work from professional photographers using the iPhones. Those are amazing. And yeah, you can tell me that this phone can do all this great stuff and has all this RAM and stuff like that, but the way Apple sells their products, they sell the dreams and the ideas of how powerful they are. And that's how Steve Jobs lived his entire life. And you could say, oh, the phones are too expensive, everything's too expensive. Like, yeah, but it's that way for a reason, too. If everyone had this, then it wouldn't be special. And that's what Steve wanted. Steve wanted to sell you a device or a tool that made you feel as special as you thought you were. And it would help you become more special. And that's what the company's built off of.
Making you feel special.
Honestly, it is. Like, you go back to like, here's to the what's his famous
here's to the crazy ones.
Here's to the crazy ones. Like, that's what it's for. And I feel that with his passing, Apple's gotten safer and safer and falling more into like, honestly, the other companies, but they, to a slight degree, they haven't shaken things up in a while.
I don't think we've noticed that they've done anything radical. So, very fair that where I think that looking at the company as a whole, they, ever since Steve's passing, things have become very like incremental.
Yeah.
I think they're waiting for the next revolution to come by. But if you think about I think it's Huawei that just came out with a new phone.
The wireless.
No, the Mate 10 maybe. I'm not even entirely sure what phone it is.
Okay.
Because Android phones are, few and far between, trying to figure out the difference between all of them these days. But they came out with a phone that their rear camera housing looks exactly like the iPhone 10. If you held up the camera housing to like just a close-up, you would have a hard time figuring out if it was an iPhone or if it was Huawei. So where we don't think, as consumers, we see too much upgrade, along the line of, like, they don't change anything radically. Like, the iPhone 10 is, for what it is, it's great. Yeah. It's a great phone. It takes great pictures. I have no gripes about the phone in my pocket. I wouldn't change it in any way. Meanwhile, it's like, now every single phone you look at has a notch. And we're going to get into the state of the notch in like 10 minutes. But it's, they're able to create these trends and then people copy them and then we keep going. So I feel like where we don't think there have been any crazy upgrades in the past, like how many years since Steve's passing, they are doing a great job at still selling us on everything. Whereas you can watch a keynote where, the 8 wasn't a huge upgrade from the 7. But for looking between the two, would you buy a 7 or an 8?
An 8.
Yeah, it's like you're going to want the latest and greatest.
I think that falls back on more the atmosphere. Like, so Apple made this amazing network and like the first app store, all this stuff. Like, they have such a solid foundation for what every iPhone was built upon that I think that's their saving grace. I love this every time they show it. Like, they show, here's like the current amount of iPhones out there. 98% of them are running the latest operating system. You go to an Android phone, jelly beans, ice cream sandwiches, marshmallows, whatever they are.
They're up to Pi now.
Pi.
Yeah.
Is it the 3.14? Did they do that?
No,
okay.
It's not. It's Android, like, God, I think like 9, 10. I'm not even sure.
And here's I love the names of those things. I think the names are phenomenal. But you look at the pie chart, and every single Android phone, you can't tell which one is which or where they go where, and like that's a main issue. Apple, they got it right from the beginning. It's like, here's the phone.
Yep.
It's ours. We're building upon this one thing. You'll always be able to connect and be together. Yep. Android's like, you know what? More like choices. Like, it was that Be Different campaign years ago with all the little Android like guys all different. Like,
here we are.
Be different all you want, but at the end of the day, You're not a $1 trillion company.
It's funny because the Apple's famous slogan of "Think different" versus Android of "Be different." It's like you have all these companies that are, the Android market's oversaturated with everything.
Yeah,
you can find a phone that's perfect for you, but at the same time, it's like you're going to compromise somewhere.
Well, don't Android phones outsell iPhones like every month too? But the iPhones cost more, so and Apple ends up making more from the iPhones. But more Android phones are sold worldwide every month.
I have no idea. I'm gonna say probably yes, only because you have to think about the $30 budget $30 budget Android phone that you pick up from Boost Mobile because you need a phone that just makes phone calls.
Yeah.
And that runs Android, and they're like, "Oh, that's an Android sale." So you never I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, that goes back to the thing where Apple does not make a cheap iPhone. It has cheaper iPhones, but I can't get a $100 iPhone anywhere.
You cannot. I mean, you can probably get an iPhone.
What's the cheapest iPhone buying from Apple, not from like a reseller or refurbished? Like if I want to buy a new iPhone, what's the cheapest?
That's the iPhone SE.
$500, $400,
$350.
$350.
That's not bad.
Yeah, that's a Switch.
Yeah, I mean, technically, it's
less than Switch.
It's
more than Switch. Yeah.
It's more than Switch.
Yeah.
It's the same body as the iPhone 5S.
Yeah.
Which, hasn't been updated in 3 years. But it's also one of those things where we still see that it's in the market. They're still selling it, and has to be selling well if they're still selling it.
Yeah.
But it's the point where this company's, we didn't even touch upon, we can probably do an entire podcast of Apple's downfall and what brought it back.
I would love that if you wanted to go deep into a podcast.
I love everything.
Have you watched both Steve Jobs movies?
Oh God, no, they're terrible.
You should watch them just for to get the idea. Have you read the book? I read the Walter Isaac book.
Yes, I read that.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of Apple's history is so fascinating because it's where we look at this company and we see iPhone and we see the Mac and we sometimes see the iPod and the not so much in this today's. It's
sad how much the iPod has fallen out.
They discontinued basically all of them. So it's at this point where they have to make a choice within the next couple of years of what's next, and where the iPhone 10 they promised is the iPhone for the next decade. I'm excited to see that, but I'm excited to see where their values lay into that. They have tons of products that they have a product for everybody, but it doesn't do everything, which is the perfect slogan for the HomePod.
They're getting close on a lot of things. I think they need to swallow a pill here and there and just get over what they think products are. I still think the iPad is a huge just waste of money. Yeah. I think that if you're an artist and you get an iPad Pro with the Apple Pencil, phenomenal. If you're looking for a tablet which is a computer, get a Surface.
Yeah. Right. An
iPad is a perfect companion to a desktop or another computer. And I tried again. I've never owned a laptop. I went through my years of college with an iPad trying to make it work as a laptop, and I think that I fucked myself over in many different projects in that regard. And it's a great device. I see the need. I see the need for an iPad in a very small sector, but they keep selling it as it's a tablet computer.
Right.
It's a big iPod.
What's also funny is have you used an iPad lately?
No, my iPad has not been charged.
You have an iPad 2, yeah?
Yeah.
They've come a long way. I mean, I have one that I use every single day, and it's at that point where, yes, it is a large iPod, but also at the same time, it's my choice of a web browser, which is crazy to say.
Believe me, if I could sit down and instead of browsing my phone, I'd browse on the bigger screen. Right. Of course, but I don't think that's Steve Jobs wouldn't come out and say, "This is the iPad. You like web browsing? Bigger screen." That's not a dream to me. Show me what the dreamers can do with the iPad, kind of thing. And I think that the artist side with the Apple Pencil and the Pro and the bigger, that right there was amazing. The fact you could turn things and it was hand sensitive, all that stuff in the iPad Pro, the big one, sold me on that. I don't own one because I'm not an artist, but that stuff sells me. standard iPad and the iPad Mini and all that stuff like that, I don't see the.
They haven't updated the iPad Mini in 3-4 years.
Yeah.
Anyway, I feel like it's. So you have a large iPad Pro. I just see like, they make so many products that there's something that's right for everyone.
Yeah.
And they have the iPad, just the iPad, and it's you can pick it up and you can use it, and whether it be your everyday device or something you leave on the coffee table, they still sold you on it. That's Right.
And that's his like primary like it's a nice big screen for him to use. He plays solitaire on it. God bless the man.
Right. That's my mom uses her iPad for solitaire.
Yeah.
And there we go. That's where we're at.
I think it's me hoping that Apple products don't become with the mundane.
Right.
I want them to always be special. And when people stop using them for special things, it's like, okay, it's kind of losing the vision there, but at the same time, it's a product for everyone.
It's also the only company that has a successful tech retail store. You have like pop-up shops in Best Buy for Samsung and Google.
Yeah, I left Best Buy back when they first started cannibalizing it. Like the Samsung store was just put in when I left.
Yeah.
Now you have the Microsoft centers in there too.
When I worked there, it was everywhere. Like Apple had their own pop-up shop.
I forgot you worked for Best Buy.
Oh my god, it was a nightmare.
I know.
We worked. So fun fact: Kenny and I worked at the same Best Buy, not at the same time.
We would have taken over that place.
Oh yeah, we would have run that place, but it was miserable.
Yeah.
But if you have like a pop-up shop in a Best Buy, you pay Best Buy for that space. But who's gonna go to a Samsung store or a Google store? I think Google could probably open a shop. I think they have one in the city that's all pixel based.
I don't think it would work.
No,
I don't think. Again, like Apple has so many products and so many things.
Right.
Google has all these great services, but like,
yeah.
Unless
Could you imagine like, oh, I have an issue with my Gmail, and then you walk into a Google store? I mean, people walk into the Apple store with Gmail issues all the time, and it's like, do you see the large Apple on the sign there?
Yeah.
We're not Google. It's amazing. We'll go back to we'll wrap this segment up, but they're at $1 trillion, and I don't see that slowing down. Kenny sees that slowing down in his head.
I see this. I want to say this year. I want to say within the next 5 years, this is their make or break. How long ago did Steve Jobs pass away? It was
2011, 12. Somewhere on there, end of 2011.
Yeah, because I was still at Best Buy at the time. I think they need to come out with something amazing again. Like again, like I'm speaking for myself personally. I don't know. Like I could go on the internet. Maybe everyone loves Apple like more than ever, and I could just be the one that's here. It's kind of like it's not what it used to be, and being like the old curmudgeon. But they need to invent the next product.
Right.
Like, you can keep reiterating on the iPhone, you keep reiterating all these things, perfect. Make them better and better. I want that. I want to see that. What's the next thing? And the first...
Could you think that Samsung gives you the next thing? What is the next thing?
I don't know.
See, where we have like...
But that's the... So I think like I was sold the bill of a flying car when I was a kid.
Right, yeah.
And there's a Tesla that got shot into space. And that's the closest thing we've gotten to flying cars. We don't have a flying car yet.
Right.
We don't have the phones that are a piece of glass that are completely see-through. We don't have holograms coming out of the phone yet. We don't have any of this stuff that we like see in sci-fi and all that stuff like that. And from what I understand, we're nowhere near it. We're nowhere near it. From what I can tell from just like me knowing what I know about technology, which is not much as compared to you.
That's why we have this podcast.
Exactly. Like I know we're nowhere near these things yet, and even if we were close, it would not be cost effective, and it may not even add anything. Just because I can see you on a hologram coming on my phone does not make the conversation any better.
Is it even practical?
It may not add anything. It may not have any practical use. But I want to see who does it first.
Right. It's like a good comparison to that is like when we first like landed on the moon. Like who's gonna do it first? And whether it be Apple is a American-made company, whereas you have like Samsung, which is Korean, and and you have these two giants. This is a world like it's always been like Apple versus Samsung. So it's somewhere along the line, someone's gonna do something. But they just announced Samsung just announced a new phone today, and it is exactly like last year's. And I'll tell you the tiniest differences, but
yeah, please do. I've not seen anything on this. So
this is where we're at. So yeah, Apple, $1 trillion company, but here we are. We're gonna get into the topic of today, the real nitty gritty, the state of the notch.
Yes, as you hinted in the last episode, which I loved just the idea of that title.
The state of the notch.
It sounds like a Wall Street Journal article.
It's probably like a Verge article or something, because I swear I've probably seen that topic before. But it's at the top of your phone, your iPhone 10. You have this.
Oh, your iPhone 10.
My iPhone 10. You have a black bar that houses the camera, some IR sensors, and whatever, your speaker. That is the vision of the next 10 years of Apple, right? Whether this notch stays forever, the vision is
we should say that the notch itself is the fact that the screen itself is not a complete rectangle or shape anymore. Right. At the top of the screen, it curves down, allowing this black space for these devices, and goes back up into screen again, right, with everything on the side being taken up by the battery or the server, stuff like that. And when you look at the phone when it's off, you can't see this notch. When
right.
the phone is illuminated,
right,
you'll see a notch there. Some people have gotten into the habit of downloading wallpapers where the top part is black.
Yeah.
So it looks like a straight black bar.
I hate those people.
Does the notch bother you? I think you said before that the notch does not bother you.
No. And I'll tell you the technology that allows it to not bother me. OLED.
Yeah.
The only reason I love the iPhone 10 design is because it does what everyone else doesn't, and it has the ability to give me a perfectly symmetrical bezel around the entire phone, excluding the notch. Every other phone that you see, ever since the iPhone 10 came out, has copied the notch because we all want to see a full screen phone. The first phone that I can really recall that had a notch was the Essential phone. Do you know the Essential phone?
I do not.
I think one of Android's lead founders created his own company called Essential, which they set out to create just a phone that is the essentials. A beautifully designed phone, no logos, just something you'd love to have in your pocket. And it was this beautiful aluminum, actually no, I think it was stainless. It was stainless steel and ceramic. This thing was heavy. And what's funny, on Amazon Prime Day, it was on sale for like $250. It came out at like $800. And the screen was an LCD, but it was bezel-less. I'm doing air quotes because it had a notch for the front-facing camera. No, they crammed all of the sensors up into the top tiny bezel, and then it had a chin at the bottom. And the thing that bothered me about the Essential phone was that the top where that notch was, so it was just the camera that looped up, and then the sides of the display curved, and then they went straight down, and then it was cut off 90 degrees.
Okay.
So if you're thinking about, like, picture a rectangle, and then half of the rectangle is just a regular squared off 90 degrees, and then the top of the rectangle is curved. That's the essential. Essentially what the display looked like.
So basically SpongeBob's Halloween costume.
Basically, yeah. Pretty much. And when I saw this, I was like, I just saw like a full screen phone. And then I picked it up and I was like, wow, this is heavy, and the display is ugly and not symmetrical.
Yeah.
We moved on from that. We had like full screen phones in terms of the Samsung S8. That was the first phone to like, it has their infinity display, which wraps around the side.
I hate that.
It's really bad for like
everything,
random inputs.
Yeah.
They have software for like, they So your finger or your thumb doesn't like get in the way of using it.
The only thing I ever saw that was good from that was the commercial where a woman's on a date and she just want to like look at her phone, but she tilts the phone up just at the side of the phone, and like the messages like scroll through the side there. I'm like, okay, that's the one thing that's kind of cool, but at the same time,
right? You can just look at your watch.
Yeah.
Your Apple Watch.
Yes.
Anyway,
so you have no problem with the notch because you've seen other companies do it poorly, and Apple does it so well.
Right. So it has flaws. I think people combat this in some ways, other people don't. Updating their apps to like incorporate the notch and like, you know, instead of when the iPhone 10 first came out, there were black bars, just like you had on the iPhone 5 with the black bars to accommodate the larger screen. So when the iPhone 5 came out, it was longer, the display. So all that we had was iPhone 4 apps that could run on it. So there were these two black bars above and below the app that you were using. Once everyone updated their apps, it was fine. And, you know, and then once everyone updated their apps for the 10, you're using this full screen display and it's gorgeous. I don't miss the home button. I don't miss anything about it. Android has had on-screen buttons forever. No, I'm not kidding. No, I'm kidding. Android 4 was the first time that they had on-screen buttons. But the state of the notch is solely because of front-facing cameras, because we're so obsessed with ourselves and we need to take selfies. Where it's at that point where we can create other solutions for this, but companies aren't. Like, we have Huawei doing thin bezels, but they have a notch. We have Vivo, which is another company that has the front-facing camera. When you launch the camera app, it protrudes from the phone. So a mechanism launches the camera out of the phone. Oh,
yeah. I think you sent me that before.
There's a company, I think it's Oppo, where the entire top of the phone, the mechanism, takes the phone and pushes it up.
Okay.
So it looks like the top of the phone raises. So instead of just a tiny part that comes out, the entire phone slides up and then slides back down. We've also had companies where it's like a manual mechanism where you literally so it's a think of a sandwich and then slide half of the sandwich down. Mm-hmm. So you manually flip up the camera, just like the old flip phones used to slide out the keyboard.
Here's a pretty radical idea.
Yeah.
Get rid of the front-facing camera altogether.
Okay.
Because the front-facing camera is always worse than the actual camera on the back of the phone.
Okay.
What if you made the phone double-sided, like screen-wise? So that way your back-facing camera, when you hold the phone like this, if this was also a screen, I'm pointing at my phone. This is not good for audio, but I'm pointing at the back of my iPhone. If this was a screen as well, that is your front-facing camera.
I think Sony did that.
Damn it, it's already a thing.
It's not practical because as easy as it is just to flip your phone around and take a picture, I think they found that it was or not. I think we as consumers figured out that the display is not good and it's only used for that. So
but the front-facing camera, not that great.
Right.
Only used for that. It's kind of the same thing. And now you're seeing fingerprint readers and stuff on the back of it. The back of the phone, the real estate is not being taken up quickly, but it's being experimented with.
What I don't understand is that companies have been doing fingerprint readers on the back of phones for a couple years now. And we're at this point where we see companies doing fingerprint readers under the glass, under the display. Mm-hmm. What's the point of that if you could just put it on the back of the phone?
There's none.
They don't have a design logic like Apple does where they say, no way, that's never going to happen. But
I think that's the problem with a lot of companies now. They're throwing so many things at the wall and just seeing what sticks and what people actually enjoy.
Right.
If I'm Samsung, I can say, oh, your phone's safer because we have a fingerprint scanner. As a consumer, I feel safer now.
You can lock your Samsung phone in 7 different ways, though.
Yeah.
They have an iris scanner. They have a facial recognition. They have a fingerprint reader.
Like, and these are all great things, but again, back to the whole dreaming mentality, that doesn't, as a dreamer, like, yes, my artwork is safe now. Like, it doesn't add to the phone. It's not adding to the experience.
Right.
It's making it safer, which nowadays, I think, as Americans, we want to feel safe and secured and stuff like that.
Which is all terrible. Like,
It is.
I don't care. Like, I have passwords, and I have these things that protect me, like 2-factor authentication.
Yeah.
I don't care if my Adidas account gets hacked. Like, if I buy shoes and they have my credit card information, great, I'll just cancel my credit card.
Yeah.
Like, are they going to find out where I live and, like, hold me up for thousands and thousands of dollars? No. Like, it's at that point where you have Face ID, you have a fingerprint scanner. I think just the only thing that I want to be protected from is theft.
Yeah.
I don't care about hacking. No one's going to hack me. My photos, have fun with pictures of my cat. And it's like, we're very, like, so terrified of, being hacked, which, again, I think has to do with the political climate.
Absolutely.
So this is not a political podcast at all. So it's we create all these solutions, but in the real, like, nitty-gritty of it, we have this notch because of the front-facing camera and Face ID, because we got rid of the home button. And our other companies are going to say, oh, we got rid of the home button too. They never, well, some other companies never had a home button.
Yeah.
We got rid of the fingerprint scanner on the back, so you can have it on the front.
Isn't the notch also used for the audio? Because I know, like, with my phone, like, it comes out of, like, the front speaker.
The receiver. Yeah. But you could fit a receiver. There are other solutions to that, like having the receiver underneath the glass. Mm-hmm. Do you remember my Google Glass days? Google Glass had a bone conducting speaker.
I remember that.
Which essentially just went up against the cartilage of your no, I'm not really sure. Went up to your skull, basically. It made a connection, just like being rested, and I heard everything perfectly fine.
Yeah.
It was just vibrations giving sound. That's all. That's
love
everything.
That. That's so fucking cool.
Well, that's the what they did in the Vivo phone, where the camera pops up. The entire phone is, I'm somewhere around like 93% screen to body ratio. So they vibrate the glass to be able to do audio.
That's so cool.
It's dope, but it's like, if you want to see innovation, you want to have like Samsung's phones. They have bezels on top, they have bezels on the bottom, and they're not shrinking. They're just like, they have all the sensors in it. The bottom bezel has your microphone and something like that. Their phone today was literally just the phone from last year, plus a couple extra features. No upgrades to the camera happened with the previous phone. Their Bluetooth S Pen it's the Galaxy Note. They do this every year. The Galaxy Note is now Bluetooth enabled in the pen, so you can use the pen to like control your presentation. It's all these features, like maybe some businessman's like, I need to control my presentations with my S Pen, and we'll settle with that. And we're at that point where it's like all these technologies. We could have a phone that has a under the glass receiver that vibrates. We could have a phone that is with a pop-up front-facing camera. We can have a phone with an under-the-display fingerprint reader. But if it doesn't look good and it doesn't work well, we have a notch.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a notch on our phones for a while. And I say we, not talking about like us as consumers. I talk about like every company out there saying, Apple, we're going to have a notch. Samsung, we're going to have Samsung makes fun of the notch. They don't have the notch, but they have two ugly black bars at the top that prevent them from having a full screen phone. Huawei, we're going to have a notch. And it's at this pinnacle point where you either learn to love the notch and accept it, or you're going to be disappointed with phones for the next couple years.
I wish I had more to add to it because I do not have the 10 yet. I kind of held off for a little bit, and then like at this point out in the year, it's like, oh, let's wait for the 10s or the 11, whatever it's called.
It's probably going to be the 10s.
Probably 10s.
Because if you think about the naming scheme, there have been leaks recently. It's going to be like 9 and then the 10s.
9 being the lesser one for the value market, and then the 10s.
There have been also like leaks of what these phones are going to look like.
I don't believe any of that shit. The only time I ever believed that was the one year when that guy actually physically lost it, and it was in like a casing that made it look like an older phone, but like it was actually a much smaller phone in the casing. It's like, okay, that's pretty solid right there. Yep. But
otherwise, it's
that was the 5, right?
That was the 4.
That was the 4.
That was the radical redesign.
I loved the 4.
Yeah.
I loved the 4.
Everybody did. Yeah, look at that. That's your 5.
Where's my 4? Oh, my brother destroyed my 4. That's right.
Sad times. Oh, there that goes. Yeah, it's at this point where we have all these phones that just. I think OLED helps to get back to the point of like I think I don't mind the notch because OLED technology makes the display super black. It shuts off the pixel. It's individually lit pixels. Mm-hmm. So if I have a black wallpaper, it looks pretty sick. Like,
well, you say you don't like that though. You say you don't like people who put the black on top to hide the notch.
But if you have a wallpaper that kind of hides the notch, I'll show you what I have now. So I have like this blue, but it's dark blue at the top.
I can't see the notch.
You can't see the notch, but you can definitely see my wallpaper extends all the way through the top.
Show me an app where the notch is very visible to you.
Anything. Look at this calendar app. It's white. The entire app is white, so of course you're going to see the notch at the top.
It doesn't bother me, though.
No, it doesn't. It honestly...
I think the fact that they keep all the business stuff up inside where the notch is, like, side areas. Like, if the app continued on into that area and there was stuff I needed from that top area, I'd be upset. But the fact that they integrated the new iOS where you drag down from the two different sides, too, like, it just works. Right. Which is Apple's main...
Whereas you have, like, if you're scrolling on a web page and you keep scrolling up, you know, it doesn't extend into the top notches, you know, those little side areas. It levels off.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, a constant flow of information.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I have no problem with the notch. No. I don't have one yet, so I can't say for certain, but, like, I don't think I'll have an issue.
No. If they come out with a larger iPhone 10... Would you get the larger one because you have the Plus model?
Yeah. I can't go back. I think like the current size is about what I want. If it's much bigger than that, then I'll probably stay small.
The rumor is the screen's going to be like 6.4 inches. It's gigantic.
Okay.
Okay, sure. 6.1, I don't know.
I got to hold it. It's all about holding in my hand. Like now holding back like a smaller one now. Like I don't understand how I ever like... I have iPhones everywhere. Like I don't understand like how I ever...
Is that another iPhone 5?
Yeah.
How do you have 2 iPhone 5s?
Dad just upgraded.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. I can never imagine going back to something like this anymore. And I don't know how I did for such a long time.
Well, I mean, you could buy the new SE.
I guess, but...
Kenny chucked his phone across the room.
Yep.
We don't have visuals for this podcast.
Not yet.
Here we are. We're out of time.
We are out of time. That was a good little...
Whatever this is.
Yeah. I feel like I learned a lot. Again, we didn't go into the new phone that was announced today that much at all, but I'm going to look into that a little bit more. Like, my friends have been trying to get me to get off the Apple, like, train for years now. Yeah. And I was close before they showed off, like, the 10 and whatnot, too. Like, I'm like, I don't know. If the 10 doesn't look cool, I might have to switch. But, like, here I am still using the 7 Plus, so.
Yeah. How's iOS 11 treating you?
Great, actually.
Cool. He doesn't have an issue.
I've had no problems. And the fact that I just figured out how to do the whole... I got Apple Music and got the iTunes library synced together.
What?
Yeah. Like, that fixed... Like, I don't know what... I was going to ask you, because this was bugging the crap out of me. Everything on my iTunes was getting out of sync, or, like, not... Like, so I would buy an album on my iPhone from the iTunes store on my iPhone, plug in my computer to sync, everything would be fine. A week later, the album would be 3 separate albums, and, like, one song would be in the first album, half the songs would be in the second album, and then the other couple would be in that one. And I'd go onto iTunes, like, the images change, the albums change, the artists change. Nothing would change, but on the iPhone they would be 3 separate albums. And then sometimes the songs would double. So I downloaded the Deadpool 2 soundtrack. Yeah. It was all there, but it was Celine Dion.
Oh my god.
From the Ashes. Like everything was doubled. I couldn't figure out what was happening. But then I did the sync with Apple Music, and everything got fixed. And I don't know why. I'm not questioning it. I'm thankful. Thank you, Apple. But it was driving me insane. I was like, this is going to make me get rid of it altogether because music is such a big thing for me on these phones.
Yeah.
And my music was just not working.
Right.
So
I use Spotify.
at this point, I have YouTube Premium, so I have the YouTube Music. I have Amazon Prime, so I have the Amazon Music.
Yeah, that was redundant. We were talking about that before.
Yeah, I have all these things now, so Spotify's the one I don't have, and it's probably the best one that I'm just kind of ignoring.
Hilarious.
But, I've been enjoying Apple Music so far, though. It's been really nice for me. For just downloading albums that, like, I don't care to buy this, but I'll gladly have it for now.
Right, sure. Yeah, I stopped paying for music a long time ago.
Yeah.
Once Spotify became a thing, it was like, why have I been paying for music ever? I didn't actually start even listening to music again until Spotify.
The biggest thing is I wish that... So I know that every platform has the thing where you can make a playlist and then send it to someone who's also on that platform.
Yeah.
I wish you could make me a playlist on Spotify.
And send it to your Apple Music.
Exactly. Or vice versa, even. I know that's not a thing yet.
Real fast, and then we'll end this podcast. Google is working on a tool that essentially allows you to export your data from one service and import it perfectly into another. So it's essentially like if you're on Facebook and you don't want to use Facebook anymore and you want your information to be moved over to
MySpace.
This has been the Techmate podcast.
That's what does it? It moves all your everything perfectly?
Yeah, so it's basically like you have...
How does it have the rights? I feel like that's a major, like...
Right, so they have partners. So Google's talked to Facebook, Twitter. I think Instagram's already included because Facebook owns Instagram.
That's like Google knocking on the door like, hey, here's a brand new luggage in case, anyone in the house wants to move out ever.
Right. Yeah, so they're essentially trying to pave the way for what the free internet is, and the choice to be like, I would never delete my Facebook.
Either would I.
Because I have tons of pictures that people have tagged me in over like the past 10 years.
Yeah.
But if I could move that into another site that's better than Facebook,
even just into Google's Photos.
Yeah. But that's what they're creating. So they're partnering. It's complicated because they have to make digital keys for everything to say, hey, if I have an album on Facebook, how does that translate into Twitter? Mm-hmm. Like, Twitter doesn't have albums. Does it just import all of my photos into Twitter? Can I export all my Twitter photos into Facebook? But
it might be one-way streets for some things, but right. I think we need to get... We're running a little bit long here. I think we need to get to the point where, you can sign up to any website now, through Facebook.
Right.
Hey, do you want to give me your email, make a password, or do you have a Facebook account?
Right.
I think we need to start doing that with our phones, where that's kind of a thing already, where if I log in on my iPhone, it can tell, I can use, Apple Pay on some websites now, stuff like that. I want my phone to contain my entire life on it. So if I want to sign up for Facebook, I click a thing, and my phone has everything loaded into it, and will always keep things back as a backup. Right. If I go to a store, I want I want to sign up for our Barnes & Noble membership. Here's my phone. Scan my phone. You have all the information I need. We're kind of there in some degree, but also not even close to where I want it to be. I want the phone to be the end all be all contact card or information database.
That makes sense. I think there's a lot of security issues with that.
Oh, tons.
It's basically I think it's Japan or China has I think it's China has a social based scorecard now. So if you do something bad in public and your social score goes down and they can prevent you from buying a house. I don't want to get to the point where it's yes, I have to show my social security every single time I want to open up a Barnes and Noble card. You know what I mean? I think that there's a lot of security issues with that. The ease of use, though, would be amazing.
Yeah.
To be I just created a new Google account. Do you want to import your information from your old Google account? Why are you closing your old Google account? Maybe you got hacked and you want to change everything. You don't want to use that account anymore. Or if you got hacked on one service, you want to move to another service.
I think it might make everything more secure too. The whole two-factor authentication. Usually it's our phone numbers and our emails and stuff like that. Imagine if it had to be from the device. So imagine if someone's trying to hack my Facebook in California. My phone knows it's not in California. Boom, it automatically would not work.
Funny enough, Google also has a device for that. It's called basically a key, a USB key. That if you log into something. This is what Google employees use. They they log in on a computer, they have to insert the key into a USB port for them to be able to log in. They can do I think they have other two-step, but I think for employees, they have to use the key. And this is something that they're selling, I think next month on their Google store.
That's cool.
So consumers can, move their account key to their USB device. So when you sign into a computer at the library, you plug in the key, it validates and then you can get into your Google.
That's security that I can get excited about, because that sounds like just cool technology and very useful and practical for everyday use.
Right.
We're gonna wrap things up in 2 seconds, I promise. Do you watch Black Mirror? Have you seen Black Mirror?
I hate Black Mirror.
Okay.
Okay.
Have you seen the episode with the social stuff, with the social ranking?
I don't watch Black Mirror.
Okay.
You can explain it to the listeners.
There's the season 3 premiere of Black Mirror. Bryce Dallas Howard is the main actress in that episode. It's the world revolves around your ranking, basically.
Oh,
and you can't buy a condo unless you're above an 8 or stuff like that. And your social base, the amount of likes you get on Instagram or a thing. And it's a thing where everyone is super nice to each other because bad ratings affect you. So if you don't tip at a Starbucks, you get a bad rating. So everyone strives to be nicer, but then there are things there's a couple in an office that goes through a breakup and everyone sides with the girl over the guy, so the guy's ranking drops down so low where he doesn't have access to enter the work building anymore, so you have to be above a 5 to go to work, enter this building, and he's below a 5 now, so he's forced to he can't work. He's fired.
Wow.
And she's trying to buy a condo, and she needs to get above an 8.5, and she's an 8. So she's trying to do all these nice things and whatnot. And then she gets invited to this wedding where her friend is going to be, and her friend's a perfect 10. All the friends are going to be 10. So she's if I go there, make a perfect speech that goes viral on Instagram or anything, I'll get a perfect 10 score. And then it's this entire journey of her getting to the wedding, and things start happening, and you should watch. If you don't like Black Mirror, watch that one episode. It's what you just described to a T. It's perfect. Thanks. Why didn't you like Black Mirror? End us off with this.
I might be wrong, but isn't Black Mirror in the first season was the episode where the dude has to have sex with a pig?
That's the first episode, yes.
Okay, that turned me off to the entire series.
Okay.
That's it. I really that. I hated that. Just the concept of it. And I think that's the general idea of Black Mirror. It's supposed to fuck with what you're thinking. But that it fucked me up, and I was just kind of this is crazy. And I hated it.
Between the second and third season, they had a Christmas special with John Hamm. I watched an episode once. I can't rewatch it. I think I'm not even gonna joke here. I think I have post-traumatic stress disorder from the episode, or something broke inside me after I watched the episode. Probably it's because my own personal experiences in my past and whatnot, but it hit me in such a level it fucked me up big time.
See, this is why I don't watch.
And that's the thing. I've watched every single episode again multiple times, but that episode, I cannot never. So I understand what you're saying. You can't watch the pig episode. There's some episodes of Black Mirror though you need to see. I feel
my God.
So I know that's soured you on the entire franchise, but go watch the one I just told you about. Okay. I think you would enjoy that.
I think I might die.
Maybe.
Anyway, this has been the Techmate podcast.
Yes, we ran a little bit long here.
It's fine.
But
people enjoy us.
Yeah, I think so.
Hopefully.
Marissa, how do you like us?
She's probably listening to this on her way to work right now.
I love doing that whenever I know there's a certain person who listens to a show. How we doing, Thomas? Something like that.
Yeah, Billy. How are we doing?
Yeah. Hey, Dad. How being too loud?
Mom? Anyway.
All right, this has been the Techmate Podcast, episode 3. I'm Ken O'Connor.
It's episode 2.
Fuck it. Yeah, it's the third episode we recorded, but I called episode 10 to be edgy.
Yes.
Fuck.
Controversial. This has been the Techmate Techmate Condo. I don't even know what I was going to say there.
The Techmate Condo. This has been Techmate, episode 2. I've been Ken. That's been Brian. We'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Techmate.
The Techmate Condo.
Hilarious.
Techmate condoms.
Yikes.
Ugh. That's the last thing we need technology. Can you imagine,
they Kenny
don't even
they